Welcome back after the whole full hour we were live before, but we're back with the show.
Yes.
Alex, what's up?
Hey, hanging in there after a few little difficulties. We are back and I'm loving it. And hey, did you notice it like cooled off today in Arizona?
It
It
did. We
cooled.
had a very nice rainstorm happening, which is very pleasant.
Oh, but did you watch Louis DeJoy on the Postmaster guy?
I
He,
did not.
yeah, he had a few things to say. You know, well, they're doing what they do, man. And I don't know if a lot of it is good, buddy. But so anyway, aren't they, don't you have a little construction going on over there, don't you?
I do. My whole backyard is trenched. We're
Yeah,
doing some.
I just saw the trench you
We're
just,
trying to get a brand new internet connection happening. So
right.
that's
So,
backyard's all dug up.
so what's going on with you over there? Anything else happening over there?
It's just 110 degrees outside, but not really.
Wow. Well, we do have quite a bit of something happening right now tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight we have someone that I really want to talk to. We have Trish Perez, who is a master life coach. And I want to know what a life coach is. I've, I have wondered about that. And tonight we're going to find out. Trish, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
All right. It is so wonderful to have you here tonight. This is
Thank
amazing. Um, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people, but what what is a life coach? What does a life coach do?
Okay.
What is a life coach?
I'll tell you, let's start with the easy part. A life coach is not a therapist.
Oh, okay.
Not a therapist. A life coach does not diagnose people. Um,
Yeah. All right.
and the life coach is a special kind of trait that
Mhm.
we have. And to break it down and be really forward thinking, it's kind of like a coordinator for your life, understanding that there are steps to life that we need to take in order to make it to the ultimate goal, and that the process sometimes is really ugly, uncomfortable. Sometimes it scares people even to thinking higher than what they can. So the life coach is there to um, coordinate through what's happening right now, what a person wants next in their life, and how to bridge that gap to get to
Mm.
that point.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people need to know about because there was a long time before I heard the term life coach. Has that been around for a while, or is that kind of in the new millennium kind of a thing?
I've heard about life coaching as I was growing up, but I heard more about coaching than life
Mm.
coaching,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so coaches take on the platform of many different things like financial coach,
Yeah,
health coach, nutrition coach. So
exactly.
clearly there's a life coach. In my world, nobody could afford it. So it
Ah,
was never a thing.
okay. All right. Yeah.
Right.
So that I guess are there different pricing things for life coaches, or would it depend on your area or your person or the person who's doing the coachking, or
It's
you know
on the
or
person, the area,
area, or
demographics,
is it? Oh,
um,
yeah.
social and economic status.
Right.
I mean, it's really up to the person that providing it. For me, it's something that I've done my entire life naturally. I think as a child, it was very scary to have this kind of what do I call it, gut intuition too
Mhm.
early, because you're kind of like, oh God, this is really powerful. I can't kind of handle it.
Right.
But as you're migrating through your own life experiences, you have people that are either trying to go their own way and you're
Right.
motivating each other, or you
Mhm.
have that one auntie who speaks the truth all the time and you don't want to talk to her, but when you do talk to her, it's because you really need some help.
Everybody knows somebody like that.
Everybody needs one of those.
And I think you know my brother Kenneth. He's definitely like that.
How is a life coach different from a therapist?
A therapist is skilled in the sense where they literally take you back to your inner child. Like they can really break down every single symptom, emotion that you're going through to link it back to what's the internal issue with
Right.
with you, and they can make wonderful recommendations for you to move forward and to bring awareness to you. A life coach is more like, we don't diagnose, we don't tap to the inner psyche of what's going on. We tap into what's happening today, right now with you, and what's making you feel stuck.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what we really focus on, the here and the now. And with life coaching, I don't do any talking. You do the talking.
Really?
I sit in the passenger seat, and if I see something coming up that's risky or a detriment to your being, I will slowly, subtly suggest and acknowledge, hey, so have you considered XYZ? And that just brings the awareness for people to be like, well, I suppose that could happen, but, and then that kind of diverts the conversation into critical thinking.
Right.
Does life coaching work with kids?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think they call them mentors. Mentors. But we know this, like for me, I've had a lots of coaches throughout my time. I'm 42 and I still talk to my coaches till this day.
Right.
Till they are trusted people, and a kid needs somebody that they can trust and talk to when in need.
All right.
So what made you want to be a life coach? You have mentors, or what happened? What made you want to be a life coach?
After working with the state for like 15 years, that's what happened.
Yes. Working for somebody else or working for doing something else will make you want to be other things.
Right? Yes. So after working with the state for 15 years, I was so humbled and moved by the people that I was meeting that's all I really, that's what I want my passion to be. I've coached for many years and the kids are great. I've met some wonderful people in my lifetime, and working with the state, it was just a lot of red tape and a lot of paper pushing and redundancy that took away from the family experience. And I'm not one to really go with the flow. I have questions, I have really good ideas, and you can't really be flexible when you're working with an organization that has an purpose, right?
Yes.
So there are
Right.
rules, and it doesn't apply to the family, and it doesn't meet the family where they need to be met. And so that was very painful for me. I didn't sleep a lot of nights. I think I made myself physically ill because I can't shut that piece of my brain off, knowing that somebody's in need, and it's a simple conversation, not a paperwork, not an addendum, things of that nature.
Right. So Kyle, you think you could use a life coach, couldn't you? I'm too old to need one. I'm over the hill now.
Well, what is your work like centered to?
It's based off of what your needs are. So if if somebody's struggling with something that, when you just freely talk and you're just kind of like, just going. If you don't have restrictions and you feel safe in your environment to really let me know what's going on in here, we can sort out your thoughts to pinpoint what the holdup is. It's internal. It's always internal, right? But we live in an external world that tells you how to be, how to sing, like all this time they're telling you what to do, but nobody's teaching you how to deal with what's going on inside here. And what's going on inside here is natural and normal, but we have a lot of people being told that it's not, and being shamed with the stigma of just ridiculousness.
Oops.
I hope that answers your question.
What?
Okay.
No, it does. When your clients come to you, what do you hope to have accomplished for them by the end of your sessions?
Absolutely. So by the end of the conversation, the thing that makes me feel like, okay, they get it, is that they come in a certain way and they leave with some hope. they leave with light in their eyes.
Sure.
Like they feel
Right.
like, okay, I didn't realize that was happening. I kind of knew it, but that makes sense. And so when they return, that's the powerful thing, right? They're like, hey, I did
Yeah.
XYZ and this is what happened. But now, there's another roadblock. How do I,
Mhm.
and then we talk about it, and I'm
Mhm.
listening and I'm listening, and I hear more than what you're saying. Like, you can be talking about XYZ. I don't hear that. I hear the underlining issue. And
Yeah.
so at the last 15 minutes of the conversation, I'm like, so I heard, this is what I heard. And my translation as what you talked about is, oh, okay. Yeah, so that's kind of how that works.
So do you ever get, I'm sure you probably do, any of your family or friends, they have something they need, they have a problem and they say, Trish, can you give me a little coaching on this? I need, what do you think about? I mean, do you get a lot of that or some of that,
They
family
go
and
who are
friends?
so forward. No, they're slick. They're really slick. They're kind of like, so what are you doing today? And then they, we dive into the conversation, and I'm just like, okay, all right. And then we end up having like this session, and it's we both get something in return, right? Like you
Right.
get something for you, and then for me, this is just like, this is my purpose in life. And it just like, it helps exercise that train of thought that I have, that critical thinking that doesn't work in small chit chat.
Ah,
I don't do well with small chit chat. Like, tell me what you need, and then we'll
What
figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
what would be the most significant success you could hope from your clients?
That they become exactly what they set out to be.
Right.
And when they get there, they look back at their journey and just be like, wow, there's no way I was going to get through this if we didn't talk about this. There's no way that I thought this would come to light, because I had too much doubt and insecurities
Yeah.
that didn't belong
Yeah.
to me. Right. And that makes me feel like, I just want to see everybody win. And during COVID, like, I just want people to win. Like, I know what's going on in the internet world, but there's two worlds right now. One is online, and the other one is the real world outside, like
Right.
just out there, right? And so we
Yes.
confuse the two.
Mhm.
And we're like venting and gallivanting on social media, and it's kind of like, that's not the real world, and all your energy is gone there. Now you have nothing left for where you're supposed to be at.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked into that.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine it's really a nice feeling when you coach somebody through something, like you said, they never thought they could get through that, and you help them through it. And I imagine that's quite a feeling, and I'm sure they really appreciate you for that. And that's really a great thing, that because a lot of people don't have that, or they don't get that, or don't even know where they can find that. And life coaching seems like a really nice thing to be.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't heard about it for a while, but it seems like that's great. And
Yeah. Especially now, the therapists are really considering, they really push for people to talk to, have that medium person in between, because therapists could only do so much. I mean, you're scheduled for a certain time frame, you're with the insurances, that's all you get for that block. This person they're in a crisis, like their brain is going, it's going, it's going. And so when questions come up, it's like, hold on, you're not supposed to be seen till next week. Well, guess what happens? Life moves on, lose forward, and then you lose your train of thought, and now you have this encompassed issue that you weren't able to address, right? So it's kind of like life coach is like an open door policy almost. And I'm the middle person before you can get to your therapist. Your therapist is going to dive into everything that you really need to like talk about, but being able to like, it's kind of like, when people have a team, I always wondered how successful people become successful. Like, I'm drawn to people that
Yes.
are, you got the big house and you run the college, and I want to know how you did that. Like, what's going
Yes.
on right now?
Yeah.
Right? So they have like a team of accountants, they have a team of real estate, they have contractors, they have all these people on their team that make them powerful, right?
Right.
These people have life coaches. And I'm like, what? That's a real thing? That'd be kidding me. Right? So people deserve that. They need to have people to support them on their journey, because life doesn't come with a book. I remember parenting didn't come with a book. I could have used somebody back then.
Oh, yeah. Parenting definitely. And that's the one thing that really needs a book.
That is not for the weak.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly.
Sure.
So, yeah. Yep.
What? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear your question. I thought you had a question.
Oh, what's your ideal outcome that you want to achieve, or what's the perfect result that you do out from the coaching?
What is the results?
Yeah, like what's the outcome from the coaching?
Sure. The outcome is kind of like when I coach girls basketball, right? Everybody comes in and they're excited about it and they want to do good and they're nervous and they're putting their best foot forward, but fatigue sets in, right? Fatigue is adversity, and character comes out of adversity, right? Your true self comes out of adversity.
Yes.
A life coach meets you when you're facing adversity, not when things are going good, when things are kind of like, I'm so tired of this, I can't deal with it. Yeah. And we talk and we have our sessions and your light switch goes off. Your light switch goes off and you're like, wow, I just went through that whole personal experience and now I'm on the other side of it and I feel empowered to keep going. And that feeling that person gets is the feeling, the ultimate, goal that I'd like to see for all my clients. And when I do get to see that, I usually see it on the basketball court and I can time it. It's like 6 weeks. Everybody's like doing everything they need to do, right? Like in 6 weeks, the team is like gelling and everybody's coming together and everybody has their moments of like success, or they have some weaknesses, but the team, it lifts you up and it takes you to where you need to go, right? It pushes you. Right. When you can hold yourself accountable to doing these things and then you come back and I'm watching you do this naturally without even you saying anything. I had to point that out. Like, hey, did you just realize you just conquered that? Like you just did a really good job with that. And you slayed it. Like that's amazing. Yeah. That's the ultimate gift that that person receives. I just want to look back and smile and just be on my merry way. Just keep going.
Sometimes people will do something and they may not realize the impact of it until you maybe tell them, do you realize you just, and they go over, oh, wow. And then they realize they did it. And right. That's really good when you can help them see what they have done, the impact of what they've done. Because a lot of people go through things and they don't know, they don't get it until somebody say, hey, you really did that. Right. It seems like you really know what you're doing. And I understand you were homeless for a minute, which I think may help you in what you're doing because you've kind of been on the other side and came through it and know how to coach people. You have a foundation to tell people about. So how did, speak about that a little bit? Maybe how did you get out of that homeless thing?
Right. It was tough. I think I was at a fragile age, so it was kind of like figuring out, what was going on with me, and then facing rejection, and then my family, very strong individuals. They're from the islands, the West Indies. So there's a certain culture there, right? Like an unspoken culture, and it's strong, right? So I think my family was plagued with mental health issues, but the way that we're brought up to be is you don't ask no questions. That stuff doesn't exist. You deal with it. And if you don't deal with it, it's your choice, right? It's your choice that you're not compliant or acting out, or maybe you have ADHD and you're just like, you're being triggered every sense of the way. So I didn't realize that as a kid growing up, but once again, the gut intuition was kind of like, something's not right. Like something it shouldn't hurt to be a kid. Like this is not okay. And uh, I would speak up, and that would cause a lot of, turmoil, because in the West Indies, you don't talk back to anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So, being homeless was it was tough. I found more resources externally with friends. I'd sleep in their basements. They'd wait for their parents to go to sleep. They'd sneak me in the house. I'd stay on the subway, because in Toronto, the subway systems are 24/7. You can go to the end of the line, which is like the west side of Toronto, all the way down to the east side. That's a good solid 2 hours there, right?
All right.
So
Yeah.
I found creative ways, and I reached out to shelters, and it took some time to figure out the system so that I can take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
my friends and I decided to, like, call up the welfare and pretend like we were parents, and had to get, you have to do what you need to do in order to survive. So
Right.
that was key. And I didn't understand what was going on. So I didn't have the vocabulary to express to people like, hey, like I need help. I don't know. None of that just came out. So we really just, my city held me down. Let's just say that. Like my city really, there were a million other people like me in Toronto who were fighting for our lives on a daily basis. So it was word of mouth, a lot of word of mouth.
Right. And I think that was things happen in life where you kind of down and whatever, but when you come through it, that gives you quite a foundation to help other people to spring off that foundation that they're on, because you've been there. I mean, it gives you character. When you go through, so what are the thing they say about it makes you stronger or whatever, life is full of it,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
heard a kid say one time, a 9-year-old, I heard a 9-year-old say on the news, I just heard this last weekend at 74, I learned from a 9-year-old. He said he had won something, and the news guy asked him, well, what if you would have lost? And he said, you don't lose, you learn.
Hey,
And I thought that was so powerful. And that came from a 9-year-old.
right.
So
Oh my gosh.
you just learn things like that. Like you said, you were homeless at 13, but you learned. You didn't lose. You may have
Yeah.
lost the home, but you learned. So when you learn, you don't lose. And I learned that from a 9-year-old about my. So
Kids are amazing. They speak the
I'm,
truth.
I'm carrying that for the rest of my life.
We talked about what the difference is between a therapist and what you're doing, but what's the difference between an instructional coach to a life coach?
Instructional coach.
Oh, you
Well,
don't know you don't know what instructional coach is? Did I look at the
no.
wrong?
And if I'm analyzing the word instruction, it's something that's step by step by step. Like they're telling you exactly what to do. You got to get from, the first step and follow it. You can't go off the path of the instructions that they're giving to you,
Right.
is my understanding of an instruction coach.
Mhm.
This master life coach, you are the master in your life. I'm just the passenger. So my job is to really just sit back, hear what you're saying, and analyze it in my sociology brain, my social work brain. Like,
Right.
what is, I'm designed to point out patterns and habits in human behavior based off of society, right? So I look at the economic status, I look at your cultural background. These are these little things that are giving me clues and answers as to your whole being, and then you're literally telling me what's going on inside. So there's no instruction for that. There's no instruction. We go off of your feelings and thoughts at that time, because that's the pressing issue, and then I can work from there. So there's no instruction. So I guess it's more flexible and
Sure.
laid back.
Mhm. Yeah.
What does it take to be a life coach? Is there any schooling involved? Is there what does it take to become one?
there's always schooling involved in everything, right?
Yeah.
What is schooling though? Is it what you learn in life that carries you forward, or what you learn in a textbook that carries you forward? It's up to the person, it's up to that individual. So for me, it's just the intense training that I had with social work. And, oh man, I worked with child protective services. I worked with developmental disabilities. This is population that it's invisible. It's invisible to people. Like, they don't know adult protective services. These are people that unfortunately have been discarded by society because they're like, we're too busy to deal with it. Go over there. Right. And so the funding is unfortunately, there's no funding for those services. So these people are really in dire need. I'm being sent into the home to provide a service, but yet there's no funding. So what do? I sit there and I literally coach the families into how to accessing these resources that they deserve for their families. And then they have this belief that they don't deserve these services. Like, oh, that's for somebody else. They minimize themselves just because they don't want to face criticism or be turned away again. And so my job is to really, the coaching comes in. No, you deserve this. Like, this is what you need to get to the next level. I will sit with you and go through the script with you. Matter of fact, I'll sit here when you're taking the phone call. The only thing I can't do is talk for you, because that's illegal. So, I sit there and I do that with them. And so it's really getting them to be inspired and motivated to advocate for their family, because that's their precious, that's precious for them. And to access it for themselves, to recognize that, hey, you matter. This is for you. This service is for you, but this is how we have to go about getting it. So that's the difference when it comes to that.
Right. So, and you've also when you deal with, had to deal with child abuse type cases in I guess coaching somebody not out of it, because you'll probably never get out of it mentally, but helping someone in that, I think that would be amazing to help them out of that. And they would really, I'm sure, appreciate that. So that kind of thing is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
That type of experience.
Absolutely. It would have been difficult had I not experienced it as a child, but for me, it was very familiar. And I was the statistic too. They're a statistic. I get it. I get what was going on. For me, it was very eye-opening to see the cycle, in front of me happening. They endured something, and in turn, they taught somebody else what they learned, unfortunately. I just have this empathetic side where I just can't be mad. I can't be mad for too long. And I don't know if it's a gift or a curse, but I hear what happened. My job is to be very clear as to what will be happening next and how we can go about moving forward to get this person help. My job is not to wave a wand and be like, hey, you're cured. Go forward with everything else. My job is to hold you accountable for your actions so that you can make better decisions moving forward. And so that was my job as a CPS investigator. And I think ultimately when I read the cases, I'm kind of like, oh, God, this is not okay. But I was there for so long that I became numb to a lot of things, like you would. Numb to just things that are occurring, and just really dive into the issue so that we can make an impact immediately, because time is so precious when you're in that state, right? And then it's learning how to speak the language, the lawyers, the judge, the police, the client, like you start code switching automatically. And I'm like, whoa, this is insane, right? Talking to doctors and you're code switching, and then you talk to the families and then you're code switching again, because they don't want to hear this big, large vocabulary speech that you have that's relevant to them. Like, they want to know where their kids are at. And so, it was literally taking the time and being patient and empathizing with them. Hey, I'm treat them like a person. This is what's going on. Come, let's go talk about it. But it's definitely not cut out for everybody.
No,
exactly.
Yeah.
So how does somebody find a life coach? And I mean, one go about that? And how do we find you and your websites and all of that?
Right.
So we definitely want that.
Yes. So I have a website. It's Trish Perez at trishperezblog.com. I actually I'll put it up on your website and so that you guys could find it. I typically therapists.
Do we have that to put up on?
We do. It's on there right now.
All right,
Okay.
thanks. Okay.
So
Make sure you get that up.
usually it's word of mouth too. Like, people, the clients that I currently have right now are referring out to people because it's very personalized for people to trust. It's hard to trust anybody, more or less. Like I was raised in a culture like you don't say nothing, you don't trust nobody, and that's very isolating.
Hey,
and it shuts people down immediately.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's word of mouth right now, and of course the website is coming up.
Okay. That's cool.
Alex, you got more questions for Trish Perez?
I just want to thank you so much for this. This is amazing, eye-opening. I didn't.
Very good story. It was a very good story to hear.
Yeah, I never knew what a life coach does, but I see now. It's clear, how you really need it. You really need a life coach because everybody has things they need, and
Right.
and extraordinarily thank you, Trish.
Trish, appreciate you coming on the show with us today.
All righty.
Alex, jumping back over to you. What's today? Monday night.
Is this Monday? No, this is Friday.
Today is Friday.
It is Friday, and then we're doing it Monday.
We have a brand new show. Actually, we got a full schedule worked up for everybody this week. Monday night, we have Rachel Goddard and Paul Lowe coming on with us, who are filmmakers and scriptwriters. They're going to talk about how the movie business is working and et cetera, like that. And then talked about Monday. And then Friday, we had her before, and unfortunately, we had to reschedule. Hannah Hayes will be back with us that week as well.
Okay, and Trish, once again, thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate being on your show.
Yeah.
No, thanks for joining us. One other thing before we end tonight's show.
Okay.
It takes a lot of money and effort to put on a show like this.
Yes.
So if you guys feel free to make a donation and want to pitch into the show, you can. And there is a direct link right in the bottom, right at the end of the screen there. It's paypal.me /Kyle Ramsden. Shoot us a few dollars if you like the show and not. It's greatly appreciated. If not, totally understand. Alex, anything on your end before we shut it down tonight?
Just having fun and learning from people like Trish.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and watch Live with Kyle and Alex every Monday and Friday on YouTube. And share with your friends, family members, etc. Yes. We're here every Monday and Friday, y'all. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Extraordinarily good night, folks. Thank you.